Okay, welcome to Among the Thorns, episode 8. We're going to be talking about pornography addiction from a slightly different angle today, which is the kind of the performers themselves. Only sort of. When we look at pornography, whether we're really thinking about it or not, we may have come to subconsciously view these people as just objects. That's one of the big things that pornography does, is it, especially with younger people that have not yet really formed their view of the world yet, when they see it, it really defines how they view men or women, or both. And it causes you to really see them as just units, as objects, as images. You know, these aren't real people. These are fake people. These aren't actual lives, souls. We don't think that. We try to avoid that. But in our subconscious, at least, that's how we view it, I believe. And so I want to take a moment because I found that this was important in helping me to break away from my addiction. Now, I know that everybody is different. And so really what I am trying to do with this series, this current series, is I want to compile all of the different information that I have found into, one area, because some of it may not help you. Some of it may not have helped me, but some of it helped tremendously. And this is one of the things that did help to change and reshape my view of pornography. So first off, I want to say, we know that each woman, each man that is engaged in pornography, they have an eternal soul. They are a human being. They're deeply loved by God, right? So much so that God sent his only son to die for them. Not just for you, for them. God created them. He loves them. They are his prized possession, or he wants them to be. He wants them to follow after him, to believe in his son and become his children. And so they are people that, following the path that they are in currently, they are headed for damnation. Now, when we look at them, a lot of times the people that are in pornography are in it because they are very physically attractive, right? But just because they are attractive does not mean that we have a right to lust after them. It doesn't mean that we have the right to see them in that intimate state. Their body, especially the most hidden, the most intimate parts of them, isn't meant for us. They're not your wife. They're not your husband. They are not meant for us to consume them. They are not a product. They are a person. Now, regardless of how they use their bodies or they show their bodies, you should know that their body really is intended for their future spouse. I hope that they find one. And that's part of when you talk about virginity and promiscuity and all of this stuff, that plays into that. We think just because someone is willing to give themselves away that we should take part in that act. But they cheapen themselves by giving themselves away. They should be saving what they have as something sacred and special for their future spouse, right? We have to recognize, though, that these are people's daughters, people's sons. They have hopes, they have dreams, or at least they did. A lot of them are now trapped in drug addiction. They've sought after drugs or alcohol to numb the pain of what they are doing, what their job is. But they are very broken people. And by consuming pornography, so by consume I mean by watching it, You are approving of their actions, whether you are actively saying, oh, I like this, this is a good thing that they're doing, or not. By taking part in it, you are approving of their actions. You're approving of their brokenness. You're saying the state that they are in is good because I'm enjoying it. I'm getting pleasure out of it. They might even be getting pleasure out of it, even though a lot of times that's not actually the case after all of the things they've went through. But by viewing it, you are approving of it, whether you want to or not. Think about it this way too. You are approving of their destination as well. So if you are a Christian struggling with pornography, you look at this other person and you view them and you say, okay, this person they're headed for hell and damnation, right? Their life, they are not God's. Their life is not showing that they are, following after Christ, that their heart is bought, is paid for, that their destination is heaven. For all intents and purposes, they are almost guaranteed to be headed to hell, at least in their current state. And by consuming that, by watching that, you are approving of that. You are saying, okay, well, I don't want to go to hell, but I don't mind that they're going to hell because I'm getting pleasure out of them. I'm getting pleasure out of their sin, the thing that is causing them to be judged and sent to hell. I'm getting pleasure out of that, so it's a good thing, right? Clearly it's not, but you, by consuming it, you are approving of it, whether you realize it or not. I want to highlight this verse though, because the other aspect, there is one aspect which is that we have to recognize that these are people that are beautiful in God's eyes, or that can be. He values them. These are people that are broken. These are people that it's a really sad and miserable state that they are in. But there's another side to that too, right? Just looking at them in that state, you could begin to think to yourself, okay, well, that makes them desirable to me. That makes me want them. That makes me hunger for them. But we also have to recognize that these are not worthwhile things to look at. These are not worthwhile people to be lusting after. Psalm 119:37 says, "Turn my eyes away from looking at what is worthless and revive me in your ways." This verse is an important one to add to your repertoire of verses to remember, to be able to repeat, to ask God to help you. And I want to show that the things that you are looking at when you consume pornography is dangerous and is worthless, right? So it's important to understand that they're broken, but it's also important to understand that they are immoral. They are corrupt people. They're not to be admired for their beauty. Remember, that is not yours to look at anyway. They're not to be desired just because they are attractive. I want to read, actually, I'm going to read Proverbs 5, verses, 3 and down. It says, "For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil." So you go to look at pornography and it's very attractive. It draws you in. "But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. For she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it." These people that you're watching, when you look at them, have that in the back of your mind. Their feet go down to death. Their steps lead straight to hell. You are partaking of it. You are approving of it. You are joining yourself to that in one way or another. I want to mention again in Corinthians when Paul says, "And don't you realize that if a man joins himself to a prostitute, he becomes one body with her? For the scriptures say the two are united into one. So by looking at pornography, there are bonding effects. You're not necessarily joining your spirit to that person, that actor on the other side of things. In this particular case, it is very voyeuristic. You're looking at this from a distance, but it does bond you to certain things. However, what I'm talking about here is when you look at these people and you're desiring them and you're lusting after them, you have to think to yourself, would I actually want to become one with this person? Is this person someone that I would want to join my life and soul to? I would imagine that in pretty much every single case, the answer would actually be no. And yet by still taking part in what you are doing, you are lusting after them. You are going down that path. You are joining that path with them to hell. These actors are, prostitutes in I think every sense of the word. Harlots, whores. There are a lot of different words that have been used to describe them throughout time, and I think those words apply to both the men and the women that are taking part in it personally. But on one hand, they are living beings that God desires transfiguration and desires to forgive them if they would just come to him. He would have them as his children just as much as he has you. And on the other hand, they are wicked, sinful, corrupt. They would, many of them, happily drag you to hell with them, So, you have to realize that I've seen the one stat that says that around 66 to 90% of women in the sex industry were sexually abused as children. So you see, you are approving of that brokenness, that darkness, when you are taking part in looking at what they are doing and in allowing that to sate your lust. You are both taking part in their brokenness and their corruption, and you are also being dragged down with them. So when you see these people, there are two things that almost need to be in the back of your mind. One is that these people, they're headed to hell, and that's an incredibly sad thing. How can I approve of that because of my actions? And two is that these are really wicked people. Why would I want to lust after this person? Why would I want to desire this person? This person is not really worth having, at least not in their current state. And so I wanted to highlight this today as just a brief video because, again, I only had a brief moment of time that I could really go into this today. But just as one extra tool to have in the back of your mind, as a kind of a mental tactic, something that helps you, better equips you to combat this. Knowledge is power. So thank you guys for tuning in once again, and I'll see you on the next episode, which hopefully I will plan a little better. Sorry about this, but I am trying. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't. If you happen to have stumbled on this, I will be continuing this series for some time, and I also will be doing other content that is not focused on pornography. I would love to not just be talking about pornography every time I get in here. So thank you, and have a good day.